Welcome to the Head Trash Show. My name is Alexia Leachman and I'm the founder of Head Trash, home to the new and unique head trash clearance method that removes unwanted negative thoughts, feelings and emotions quickly and effectively so that you can achieve clarity, confidence and contentment in your life. My goal with this podcast is to teach you how to create some headspace by helping you to unpick what's blocking you and sharing some tips and how-tos for clearing it. Tune in every week as I share simple strategies to help you to achieve confidence and clarity in your life and business. To find out how to clear your head trash quickly and effectively using our unique method, pop over to headtrash.com to get our free download and subscribe for our free head trash clearance updates. And now for the show. Hello and welcome back to the Head Trash Show. It's Alexia Leachman here. Thank you for joining me today. Now, before I start, I just want to share with you that we were number one in the self-help charts on iTunes last week. So thank you, because that's really down to you listening to the show and I really appreciate it. I must say I was very, very chuffed when I saw that we were number one on iTunes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, today I want to talk about having, or at least starting having, a head trash clearance to-do list. Now, I know the idea of starting another to-do list probably fills you with dread, and you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, I've got way too many to-do lists already, and the ones that I do have, I'm not even looking at them, let alone ticking things off it. The last thing I need is another to-do list. But hear me out, because really this could be the most important to-do list that you have and could really have a huge impact in a really positive way on the other to-do lists that you have in your life. If you're somebody with lots of to-do lists like I am, I'm one of those kind of people that have to-do lists. I spend lots of time writing them and then I don't really look at them again because they scare me to death. And I realised this wasn't a really great strategy for me to be writing these to-do lists as long as I was fearful of them. So I ended up using the head trash technique that we work with here on my to-do list. And believe me, that has completely transformed the relationship that I've got with my own to-do lists. Anyway, back to having a head trash clearance to-do list. So one thing that I wondered, because I've had my own head trash clearance to-do list for quite some time. I guess I've had one now for maybe 6 to 7 months. And it was really useful for me because it enabled me to just capture somewhere the things that I was becoming aware of that I felt I needed to sort out. So I decided I'd start a list, and then I knew that if I had a little 10 or 15 minutes to spare, then I could go to my list and clear something. And so that's where my own lists came from, and I've realised that that's been hugely helpful for me, and it's enabled me to sort of, in the way that I use other to-do lists, it's enabled me to sort of be very focused, go through my to-do list in a very sort of efficient style, as it were, without sort of, suddenly having all this overwhelming stuff that's affecting me in my mind. I know what's going on. I know what's affecting me, and I have a little list where I can look at it and go, yes, this is all my head trash, thank you, and staring at me in black and white. But then I know I can sort it out. So, but one thing I realised is, well, why don't more of us have these kind of to-do lists? So let me ask you, have you got a head trash to-do list? Probably not, no. And why not? Why don't we have a head trash clearance to-do list? And I thought, well, maybe it's because really up until now, there's not been any real easy way to tick anything off such a list. Because at the end of the day, why would you want to start a list that you know is going to get longer and longer and longer? And in doing so becomes even more depressing by the day. You wouldn't, would you? You just wouldn't do it. So when I sort of realised that, I thought, yes, that'll be why. However, now that with the head trash clearance method, now you can tick stuff off the list. So suddenly the idea of having a head trash clearance to-do list makes a lot of sense. So now, this is now where you need to start rethinking your idea around having a head trash clearance to-do list, because now we can tick things off. So what does a head trash clearance to-do list look like? Well, what I'm going to do is I'll share you bits of my list so that you've got a little bit of a sense as to what my list looks like, but also the mess that's going on in my head, because I'm not sitting here claiming that my head is free of head trash. Believe me, this is my journey as much as yours. So things on my list at the moment include things like receiving. So why is receiving on my list? Well, I'm not very good at receiving things. And I always feel like there needs to be some sort of exchange as opposed to just being able to gracefully receive something. And that is preventing stuff from coming into my life because I make it very difficult to receive. So my coach said to me, because you need to sort this out, add this to your list. So that's how it got on my list. And another thing on my list is routine and predictability. And let me tell you, I absolutely hate routine and being predictable. And in fact, I'll share you a story. I mean, it really gets in my way in a quite negative way, but here's a sort of story that kind of explains it. I had a job a very long time ago where I would have to take the bus every day to work, several buses in fact, and after the last bus journey, before walking into the office, the bus stop was right outside a bakery. So I thought after my 1 hour sitting on various buses, I'd stop off, buy myself something at the bakery as my little breakfast reward for coping with the commuting hell that I just lived with, and take it into the office. And it became a little bit of a routine. And the thing that I bought every day getting off the bus was a rock cake, which is something that we have here in the UK. It's got currants in it, and it was very, very nice first thing. The currants made me think I was going for the healthy option. And so I would buy this rock cake on the way into the office. And then one day, the lady behind the counter said, "Usual, is it, love?" And I never went to the bakery again. The idea that I was becoming this predictable routine person just filled me with utter dread. And she probably thought, what did she say? She was just being friendly. And so that kind of illustrates to you the fact that this is a real piece of head trash, because suddenly I was avoiding the bakery where I was perfectly enjoying eating these rock cakes on the way to work. And now I wasn't going there again because of this stupid bit of head trash. Okay, so routine and predictability is still on my list because it's still there, because believe me, my list is very, very long and it hasn't quite got to the top of that list yet. And another one that's on my list is being spoken to like I'm stupid. And if anybody chooses to tell me something that they think I might find helpful or interesting, or they want to impart some knowledge, woe behold them if I happen to know that piece of information already, because suddenly I'm going to think my experience in terms of me hearing that information is going to be people insulting me by thinking that I'm stupid. And in fact, that probably isn't their intention. However, as a result of me feeling that, I'm probably going to respond in a very curt, short-tempered way. And, in a way that's as if to say, don't speak to me like I'm stupid. So this clearly isn't a good thing either, right? This is a bit of head trash that I need to sort out, because some people just want to be helpful and I need to allow them to be helpful and not be so rude, basically. So this is another thing that I need to clear out of my own head trash. So there's just a few little examples of the kind of things that are buzzing around in my head that I need to clear out. So that I'm sure hearing those, you're probably thinking, oh, gosh, yes, there's all sorts I could be adding to my own list. But when it comes to me clearing my stuff, I'll sort of look at my list and just think, which is the most pressing? Which is the one that's caused me the most angst this week? Which is the one that has got the potential to ruin next week based on what I know is lying before me in terms of things I've got to do? And that's how I decide what to tackle with my to-do list. And then when it comes to me clearing it, how often am I clearing my head trash? Well, my target or my own goal in terms of clearing head trash is probably around about 4 to 5 times a week. And I don't always do that, and sometimes I exceed it. As with all things where we're trying to, I'm certainly trying to make this as regular and as daily as I can. But, life gets in the way. I've got a little girl. She wants taken to nursery, the house, running a business. It's not always really easy to keep doing these regular things in our lives, as I'm sure you appreciate too. So that's what I try and do. But I try and, if I've got a little, maybe a 10-15 minute window that suddenly just popped up, well, it's just me on my own. You don't need anything to clear your head trash. You just need you. And, if you've listened to the previous episodes where I've talked through what the mantras are, the head trash clearance mantras, and you've sort of got our guide, which is the 5 steps of clearing head trash, that talks you through that. So it's all been, kept super simple so that you can literally do this anywhere you might be. and then just clear something so that you feel neutral about it as opposed to negative or annoyed or stressed, or whatever it is, however it might be affecting you. And every time that I come round to clearing some of my head trash, it might take anything from 10 or 15 minutes to much longer. Let's say the longest it's taken me has been maybe nearer an hour. And that's because I've realised that the thing that I started working on had more facets than I initially appreciated. And so I needed to sort of redo it several times, but approaching that issue from several different directions. And I'll talk about that later on in terms of how you can explore which dimensions or which directions or aspects of problems you need to maybe work on, and how do you know that. But certainly, so that might be how long it might take in the most. Now, and so what time of day might I pick to work on this stuff? So, if I've got like a little bit of a window of opportunity in between two meetings or just before a Skype session with the client, then I might do it then in the day. But otherwise, normally I'll do it last thing at night before hitting the switch when I'm in bed, because depending on the type of head trash that you might be clearing, clearing head trash can make you feel much lighter, much calmer. It'll calm your mind down before going to bed. So certainly, that time of the day where you're having a little bit of me time, you want to calm your mind down, ready for sleep. This is such a great thing to do then, because it's likely that the thing that might be stopping you from sleeping is the thing that you could actually be clearing in your mind before going to sleep. So clearing head trash before bed is probably one of my top tips, I guess, if I had to give a top tip, because that works really, really well for me, and does help me to calm my own mind down and create stillness and a little bit of peace and a light feeling before going to bed. It's not very nice to go to bed carrying stuff from the day into your sleep, because you want to have as good a quality of sleep as possible. So that's when I tend to do most of my head trash clearance. So my head trash to-do list at the moment has got about 15 things on it. And what do I use to track it? Well, I used to use just the Notes app on my iPhone, because I could access that from my desktop, I could access that from my phone, my iPad. It means that wherever I might be and I suddenly become aware of something that I need to clear, then I can jot it down and I can catch it anywhere. So if I'm at my desk having my session with my coach, and he every time I have a session with my coach, he's always given me at least 5 more items on the list of all the stuff that's coming up that's stopping me from achieving what I want to be doing. But then if I'm out and about, if I'm traveling, if I'm coming back from a meeting and I'm, taking public transport, whatever it is, and I become aware of something in me that gets triggered by hearing what other people are saying or an interaction I've just had with somebody, then I can just jot it down on my phone. Now, you can also use something like Evernote, would also be a really, really great tool to use. And, depending on, if you're visual, you might prefer to mind map it and use things like MindMeister. So there are lots of ways for you to sort of capture this. But I would certainly urge you to just start a head trash clearance to-do list, because then at least you can have a focused approach to starting to clear the noise in your mind. And then the same with all to-do lists, when you've ticked something off and you can look at that list with all the lines through it, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing a list with lots of lines drawn through it and lots of things ticked off. And in fact, I'm one of those people that if I've just done something that wasn't on the list, then I'll add it to the list and cross it off just to make me feel good. So I'm sure I need to add that to my head trash clearance to-do list too. Anyway, that was it for today. I thought I'd share with you the idea of having a head trash clearance to-do list, because really this could be quite life-changing for you, and it certainly has been for me in terms of taking a more focused approach to clearing my own mind and reducing that chatter and just bringing about more peace and calm into my life so that I can sleep better and be more emotionally resilient and less susceptible to the stresses that life is throwing my way. And it certainly worked a lot for me. So I definitely thought that was one worth sharing so that you can benefit from having a new to-do list in your life as well. Now, if you're curious as to how to add things to your list, or you're not quite sure whether or not the things that you want to add to your list are actually going to work and you're actually going to experience some kind of clearance, then pop over to our Facebook page and just let me know jot your thoughts in the comments, and I'll give you some feedback as to how you maybe need to word that to include whatever you want to work on in your mantras. So I'd be absolutely delighted to help you to add stuff to your list, and make sure that you feel that you're adding the right stuff, and that what you're adding and what you're going to be working on is actually going to work. So yeah, all you need to do is go over to the Facebook page and just put it in the comments. And if you want to, you can just send me a DM on Facebook as well, or again, send me an email via the Head Trash site and say, hey, this is a thing. Is this the best? Am I approaching this in the right way? Because I have had some messages from people who were saying, hey, I worked on this and it didn't really feel like it did anything. And so I've gone back and said, no, well, actually, this is how you need to word it. This is how it's going to work better for you. So I'm happy to help you if you're struggling in finding a way to articulate it best, to add it into the mantras to make sure that it works. So please come and find me on Facebook. We have got a Head Trash page, and you can also email me via the Head Trash website. So I hope that today's podcast was useful, and that now you feel all fired up about starting a new Head Trash to-do list. And while I've got you all in productivity mode, I thought I'll tell you about next week's show, because on next week's show I've got a brilliant guest who's going to help me to unpick procrastination. Yes, so now it's all back to school. It's September next week. We're all going to be getting back into our desks after taking August off, and we're going to be getting back into the swing of things. And also next Friday is National Procrastination Day, believe it or not. I know, what timing. I don't know how I manage that, but it just happens to coincide with the guest interview I've got with Grace Marshall, who's a productivity coach. So be sure to tune in next week and find out exactly what's going on in your head that leads to you procrastinating. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great week, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Bye for now. You've just been listening to Alexia Leachman here on The Head Trash Show. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate you leaving a review here on iTunes. And don't forget to pop over to headtrash.com to get your copy of our free 5 Steps to Clearing Head Trash guide. So now stay tuned for upcoming episodes and more tips and how-tos for clearing your head trash and reclaiming your headspace. Until next time, bye for now.